You're cruising at 70 on the interstate, you go to pass a slow-moving truck, you put your foot down, and your car just doesn't want to go. It feels like you're towing a trailer uphill. That's not just annoying, that's a legitimate safety problem when you're boxed in on a 5-lane freeway going 80, with an 18-wheeler coming up fast in your mirror. I've been wrenching on cars for a long time, and let me tell you, 90% of the time this comes down to 3 parts, and you can check every single one of them yourself in your own driveway with tools you probably already own. Before we get into it, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and drop a like if this kind of content is your speed. It helps more than you'd think. Here's something folks don't talk about enough. The average car on American roads right now is pushing 13 years old, the oldest that fleet has ever been. Loan rates are brutal, new car prices are still through the roof, so a lot of you are holding onto that old Silverado or that Camry way longer than your daddy ever did. That means transmissions, sensors, fuel pumps, catalytic converters, all of it is aging out at the same time across millions of vehicles. And that's exactly why this power loss complaint has exploded on every mechanic forum and every comment section lately. It's not just you. It's basically the whole country driving on borrowed time with these components. Number 1 is a clogged catalytic converter. And this one's sneaky because it doesn't always throw a clean code. Sometimes all you get is a flashing check engine light, and that flashing light is bad news for a couple reasons. First, it usually means you've got a misfire dumping raw fuel into the exhaust, which is exactly what cooks a catalytic converter from the inside. Second, in a lot of states that flashing light is an automatic fail on your emissions test or your state inspection. No questions asked, no partial credit. Think of the cat as your engine's lungs. Its job is scrubbing the exhaust before it leaves the car, but over the years it packs up with soot, unburned fuel residue, sometimes oil if you've got a burning problem elsewhere, and that gunk chokes off the exit path for the gases. Your engine ends up suffocating on its own exhaust, and power just falls off, especially once you get above 40 or 50 miles an hour where the engine actually needs to breathe. Here's a quick trick you can try right now. No scanner required. Start the car, let it idle, and hold your hand a few inches from the tailpipe. Weak airflow, or next to nothing coming out, that's a strong sign your converter's plugged solid. Now, replacing one of these with an OEM or carb-compliant part isn't cheap. You're looking at anywhere from $1,200 to $2,500 depending on your state's emissions rules. And if you're in California or another carb state, expect to be on the higher end of that, no way around it. So before anybody condemns that converter and slaps a new one on, get it tested properly first, either with a back pressure gauge or by pulling the front oxygen sensor and checking the readings. Sometimes a good high heat cleaning run is all it needs, and that alone can save you over $1,000. Number 2 is your MAF sensor, or a vacuum leak hiding somewhere in your intake. The mass airflow sensor's whole job is telling the computer exactly how much air is coming into the engine, so it can mix the fuel correctly. Get that sensor dirty from road grime, oil vapor, or a bad aftermarket air filter that was oiled up too heavy, and it starts feeding the computer bad numbers. But there's a second culprit tied to the exact same symptom, and that's a cracked or loose intake hose. On a lot of these SUVs and trucks, once they cross the 100,000-mile mark, that rubber intake tubing dries out under the heat cycles, gets brittle, and splits right along a seam or a clamp. Now unmetered air is sneaking into the engine without the MAF ever counting it, and the computer thinks there's less air than there really is. Same wrong mixture, same hesitation the moment you stomp the gas on the highway, sometimes even a rough idle at a stoplight thrown in for good measure. My advice here, pull that sensor and clean it with an actual MAF sensor cleaner. Don't use brake cleaner or carb cleaner. Those can melt the coating on the sensor wire and make things worse, not better. And while you're in there, run your hand along every intake hose and clamp looking for cracks, soft spots, or anything that feels loose. A lot of guys skip this step and go straight to buying a new sensor for $80 or $100, when the real problem was a $2 hose clamp that backed off. And the third one, this is the one that'll really hit your wallet at the pump, is your fuel delivery system, specifically a weak fuel pump or a clogged fuel filter. Your engine needs fuel at a steady, correct pressure to make real power, not just enough to idle in a parking lot. Here's the trap that catches so many people off guard. A tired pump can usually still handle idling around town just fine, so you drive around for weeks thinking everything's normal, no warning lights, no drama. Then you get on the highway, you demand real power to merge or pass somebody, and that's exactly the moment the pump can't keep up and the pressure drops right out from under you. If the filter's clogged too, the pump has to work even harder just to push fuel through that restriction, and that extra strain is what eventually burns the pump out for good, sometimes leaving you stranded on the shoulder instead of just sluggish. And here's the kicker nobody expects. Your gas mileage actually gets worse during all this, not better. The engine's computer is trying to compensate for the weak fuel side by pulling in more air and adjusting timing, throwing the whole air-to-fuel ratio out of balance, and you end up burning more gas to go slower. My recommendation, if you've never changed that fuel filter, do that first. It's cheap, it's easy, and on a lot of vehicles it's a 20-minute job. If the hesitation's still there after that, hook up a fuel pressure gauge to the test port and see what the pump's actually putting out under load, not just sitting at idle. Now here's where a lot of guys get it wrong, and this is honestly the most heated debate in every comment section I've ever seen on this topic. Some folks just start throwing parts of the car, new MAF sensor, new pump, new cat, all without ever actually testing a single thing first. That's what we call the parts cannon, and it can run you $2,000 or $3,000 chasing a problem that a $15 can of sensor cleaner or a $40 hose clamp would have fixed in an afternoon. Diagnose first, replace second, every single time, and always start with the cheapest, easiest check before you move to the expensive stuff. So that's the three big ones behind that sluggish, gutless feeling when you punch it on the highway. Test the cat before you condemn it. Check your MAF sensor and every intake hose for cracks. And don't ignore your fuel pressure just because the car idles fine in the driveway. That last one, the parts cannon versus actually diagnosing it, that's where this whole community splits right down the middle. Now I want to hear from you. Do you diagnose it yourself first with a gauge and a scanner? Or do you just start swapping parts and hope for the best? Drop it in the comments. I want to know which camp you're really in. And if you're trying to keep your daily driver running strong without handing your paycheck to the dealership, check out the video popping up on your screen right now. I guarantee it'll help you make a much smarter call.